Welcome back. Thanks for coming back to my channel. And today I'm really excited to present to you one of my favourite watches in the collection. It's a recent acquisition. It's the Orient Bambino version 2. So let's get it out of the case here. And there we are. There it is. Now, what I'm going to do in this video today is I'm going to do a brief intro into Orient as a brand, give you an idea of who they are and what kind of timepieces they make and why you should be having them on your radar if you're looking for something a little bit different that's Japanese. And so in the review I'm going to do that history of the brand, and I'll go through the specs of the piece, and I'll give you an idea of how much it cost me, where you can get them, and sort of likes and dislikes, what's good, what's not so good. And what I'd like to do is always talk about the strap choices you can go for with these, with any of my watches really. So the strap on this watch is one I've put on. It's aftermarket, and I'll run through that when we get to that point. But so without further ado, let's get it off the thing here, and we can have a closer look. So let's start with, there's the timepiece. This is the packaging, how it comes. The watch cost me just over £100. I got it on sale, and I bought it through just Amazon UK. So I've been looking for one of these for a while. They vary in price. They can be nearly £200 sometimes, and they fluctuate a lot. But I got it for just over 100. It's brand new with warranty. It's all the paperwork. It came really quickly, and here's the tag, and here. So it's a nice little box, not too bad, decent quality, especially for quite a cheap watch. I just like the way they package these. I've had a few Orients, and it's not bad. It's got this sort of brushed metal effect on the box here, which is nice. So I put this aside. Now the strap is something I'm going to quickly talk about now. It's just get it out of the way. It's one of the only mountain niggles, really, one of the main ones. And as you see, look how shiny that is. I just really personally don't like something. It's so stiff and so shiny, and I don't like the sort of alligator print on the leather. I think it just doesn't suit my sort of style, what I wanted for the watch. So that I straight away took it off, and I had already bought in anticipation for its delivery this strap, and I'll go into more detail when we get to that point of the review. So be wary. It's also a 21mm lug width on this watch, but the good news is it's very easy to fit a 22mm strap on a 21mm lug watch, so you don't have to worry too much about strap choices, because 22mm is a very common size. 21 is a bit less choice, so there's nothing to worry about there. So that fits so easily, but make sure you keep the don't lose the spring bars, because I think they're going to be sized for a 21mm lug. So to ensure a nice fit, keep the spring bars that come out when you change the strap, and just reuse them in the 22mm strap. So what I want to move on to now is the brief history of Orient as a brand, if you will. And since 1950s, they've been made in Japan, and they've proudly been making sort of achievable timepieces or attainable timepieces for people, and they vary in price. They've got different ranges. They start with the standard Orient range. This would be the contemporary version of a standard Orient because of the price. It's entry level effectively. Then they move up into the Orient Star range, which is more precision manufacturing and better movements, more of the premium range, if you will. And then there is apparently a Royal Orient. I don't know if they still do them anymore, but Royal Orient were up in the same league as in quality and engineering skill as these things like Grand Seiko and things like that. And anyone knows about Grand Seiko knows that they are a lot of money, starting at £1,000 for the Orient Royal. So you could argue they may be sort of an entry level Grand Seiko, because that is actually part of Orient's history. Is they merged as a functional subsidiary in 2009 with the Seiko Epson Group, which is an enormous business company in Japan. and they were fully part of the business by 2017. But they still make the watches in Japan. The movements are still in-house. And the good thing about this Orient Bambino is this movement is an upgrade from the previous models where they didn't have hacking and hand winding. And for those of you who don't know what hand winding is, this doesn't have a screw down crown. So all you'd have to do is, let's say it's running low on power, or you haven't worn it for a few days and you just want to give it a quick boost. You don't want to be shaking the watch to charge it up. Like a lot of autos, you could do that. So being an automatic, has a rotor on the inside which charges the watch up. Lasts for a few days. It's good. But if you have a bit of a collection, or this is something you wear more on dressy occasions, you can't always keep it charged up unless you have a watch winder. But the good thing why people like manual wind as an additional feature is you can see if you can. It's so smooth and quiet, you can't really hear it. It's a nice feel. And as soon as you start to feel a little bit of a change in the resistance, you know you've charged it up enough, you've wound it. And what you do is you're effectively charging the main spring that's in there, and you're creating it, putting it under tension, and that's how a watch like this is powered, is a slow re-release of that power you've inputted through either the rotation of the rotor or hand winding. So that's one extra feature that this has over the previous generations that Orient have made, which is a positive improvement with the movement. And the other improvement is hacking. Now hacking is something which is good for if you want to set your watch up for exactly GMT or whatever time zone you're in. You can see the nice smooth seconds hand sweeping. You pull it out to the furthest position, and as you can see, the second hand has stopped. So if you are following your own way of keep monitoring the time, and you wait until it's exactly 58 seconds, you go da-da-da, and then you click it in and off it goes, and you've set your watch. So I've already covered briefly the improvements of this newer movement they've put in the Orient Bambino version 2. I've covered a brief bit of history of Orient, and why I think they're a good alternative choice for someone wanting a Japanese-made watch that's not a Citizen or a Seiko, something that's still got a lot of history, 70 years worth of making timepieces, and they make lovely watches. A lot of them are actually designed and made to look like a vintage watch, and that's where we're going to move on to my likes and dislikes of this watch. And to start with, the main reason why I think anyone would buy this watch is the styling. Now, my wife is not massively into watches, and she noticed this watch. She's said, "Cool, that's a really nice looking watch." I said, "Isn't it? It's beautiful because it just seems to be really balanced." And by balanced, I mean the contrast between the colours, the beautiful blue hands, and then the cream dial. Very crisp, clean layout. The hands are beautiful, as you can see. They're really delicate, but so easy to read with the contrast with the blue against the cream dial. There are other versions, other colourways that you can choose for this watch, but I chose the cream because I knew it would contrast beautifully with the blue hands, and I haven't got any other cream face or dial watches in my collection. And I thought this just really suits the vintage look as well. And moving on to another beautiful thing is how this mineral crystal, look how domed that is. People think that's a scratch magnet, but it's hardened, it's fairly resistant. And this is a watch that you would put in a category as a dress watch. It's not something you're going to be rough and tumbling about with too much. It's something for more dressier or smart formal occasions. And you can obviously pair this up with sort of what kind of colour choices you like to have in your wardrobe. So I wear lots of neutral colours or blues. I have blue eyes, so wearing blue seems to work for me as well. So I love blue as well. It's one of my favourite colours. So this is a nice way of enhancing the aesthetic of the watch. Is the blue, and then hence why I went for this strap. Now, the other things I like are the fact it's Japanese. It's very well made. They've got a good reputation for reliability. Build quality is excellent. For for the price, it is very, very good. The finishing, the polishing, the details are really good. In fact, it has an in-house movement, which normally a lot of companies actually buy movements in, or they don't have that accolade of saying it's an in-house movement. I'd say that is a real positive for me personally. I love this crown. It's really nice size. I'll give you a quick measurement actually. I haven't measured that yet. It's a 6mm, just over 6mm crown, and that's a good size. I mean, you can get little tiny ones on some Seikos that are manual wind and other old watches, and it's really hard to get a purchase on it. But this is lovely. It's really nice size. It's the design of it's good, so it doesn't stick out too much, but it's actually got a really nice grip knurling on the crown itself, so it's really easy to use. And like I've said before, I really like all the features of the watch. The fact the movement has what you would like in a timepiece, and the fact it's also got the complication of the date, which I do like. Manual wind, hacking, and it's an automatic movement. It's just lovely to have something that's traditional in the sense of timekeeping. It's not a quartz movement. So when you want to wear this on a nice occasion, you can... it might be totally dead and you need to wind it or do anything, but it prepares you for putting the watch on. It's nice to have that interaction with the timepiece. So that's something as well, which is really nice, which I enjoy about this watch. So moans and niggles, I can only really say two. I've had this watch a few weeks now and I adore it. But first one we've already covered is this rather nasty, to me, it's pretty grim strap. The reason why I know it's grim is because I've experienced with a lot of straps. I mean, I'll do another video of all my strap collection, because if you have watches, it's good to have a collection of straps because you can accessorize your watch to suit what you're wearing and complement the watch even better. So I've tried this watch on a dark brown Horween leather strap and it looked okay. It just made it like a bit of an old gentleman's watch, and if I was in the mood for wearing a watch that way, I would put that strap on. But as it's getting into spring and summer now, I thought I want something a bit more fun, a bit vibrant, that still complements the vintage theme, but has a better colour, better colourway to suit the watch. So I went for this. This is new. I bought it on eBay, but it's a brand new geckota. It's a UK watch strap and watch manufacturer. So not manufacturer. They sell watches, but they've got their own brand, geckota. So check Watch Gecko out. I've got no affiliate links with them, but I'm very much impressed with the range of straps they do. But they didn't have this exact strap that I wanted, and I found it just lurking on eBay, brand new. Someone had it, so I got it. But I've bought a lot of stock. This strap I'm wearing now on my Satina, this is brand new. I bought from them a few days ago. It's beautiful, but that's a whole other story, that one. But give you an idea, you can really change the look of a watch just by changing the strap. As you can see, just look at the bottom half of the watch, how different it has got a feel to it, with this sort of dark, shiny, almost cheap looking strap. And then we've got this perfectly matching the colour of the hands. Let's get some focus. And we've got cream stitching to match the cream dial, polished buckle and tongue to match the polishing of the case. So that's one of my two moans and niggles. And the second niggle is the fact, I think, being that this is a 40mm watch, I'm pretty sure, let's double check, I'll show you that. Yes, a 40mm case size. I think, seeing this as a more of a vintage looking watch, I actually think this would have looked better, maybe as a 38. I've got a slight feeling that this would look better, personally, as a 38 case size. It would just, also, these are unusual lug size as well. As I said earlier, this is a 21 lug, but 22 fits on it. I would have said 38 case size with a 20mm lug width would have been lovely. I think it would have just brought it down a notch. I think the strap looks quite chunky, quite wide, even though it is only 1mm wider than the original strap. The point is its proportions. I think they could have fine-tuned the proportions a tiny bit better. Next dimension It is still only 11.5mm thick, which is quite elegant as a size for this type of watch. There's a movement in there, and the fact it's got such a big domed crystal, it's still only 11.5mm thick. Dive watches are often 13, 14, 15mm thick. So give a perspective, 11mm is not far off the thickness of a lot of quartz watches. So it is a nice proportion when it comes to that. And the curved lugs, they conform to the wrist beautifully. This really does sit well on the wrist. And that is probably because if we look at the lug to lug, which is this way, it's only 46-ish millimeters. Now, the reason why that's relevant, I didn't know this before I started getting more into watch reviews. What's the relevance of a lug to lug? And that is down to, I have a 7-inch wrist. And I'm going to take this watch off. If you're wearing a watch that is really long and doesn't have much curvature, it can look like it's propped on top of your wrist. It doesn't seem to conform to your wrist. So I put this on. This has I'd say this has a really nice size of lug to lug for a sort of an average man-sized wrist, because as you can see, it doesn't look too tall on my wrist. It doesn't look like it's sort of propped on my wrist. And if I go like that, you can see the curvature of the lugs helps it just conform nicely to the shape of my wrist, which I like to think I've got a normal shaped wrist. But it just sits really nicely on the wrist, and it feels light as well. It is a light watch, and it's really comfortable. And there's no rotor wobble. You don't feel it wobbling around in there. I've had an Orient before. I had a Kamasu, which is a dive watch, and that was really thick. It was like 13mm thick, and you could really feel the rotor rattling around in there. You can almost see, it's called rotor wobble. You can see the watch move. If you moved your arm just to wave to someone or just were walking along, you could feel it clonking around in there. But it feels so comfortable and inoffensive on your wrist. You don't notice it. So there it is on that lovely strap. I must say I made the right choice there. I'm really pleased with that. I just love the way this catches the light. Check me out on Instagram. I've got to take a lot of photos of my watches as well. That's where I like to share the images of these watches. It's Watch Me Collection on Instagram. Got some nice shots on there of this, and get an idea of how it catches the light. So lovely. So I've gone through the likes and the dislikes, if you will. So I can now say strap suggestions for a watch like this is browns work really well with it. And you think you've got a neutral dial. It's good you can have contrasting with the black. I went for the blue to complemented with the hands. But you're thinking you've got a vintage styled watch. You can go quite easily with a vintage style strap, which hence this has got the cross stitching here. So I would recommend for this type of watch to go with something, as it's a sort of smart casual dress watch. You can dress it up a lot more with a really, really nice black or dark brown leather strap. Or you can take it sort of to middle ground with a satin finish, vintage style leather strap. And you can even probably put a NATO on here. I've seen people put NATOs on these, and it works really well. So, but I'm sticking with this strap because for me this takes it to the next level of looking gorgeous. So, where would this fit in your collection? Well, for me, I've got a couple of dress watches. I don't work in an office, and I don't get to go out too much, especially at the moment with what's going on. But when I do, I like to wear a smarter timepiece. And if you have a situation in your life where you're frequently in formal to casual or even more dressier occasions, this watch would fit well in a collection and suit for those purposes, definitely. So I'm going to finish this video with my final thoughts, if you will. I'd say I would recommend this watch, even at double the price. It is a beautiful watch, and you won't regret owning it. It's very, very popular watch in the watch collecting community. They're very popular, and I think you can't go wrong with one of these. It's proven to be accurate. It's running a little bit fast at the moment, but I've only had it a few weeks and it's settling in. And I think the styling alone is just going to make you enjoy the watch. But the other thing that's good is Orient. It's a good alternative to a Citizen or a Seiko, and it's sort of the alternative choice. If you know your watches, you're going to think, well, if I had a Seiko or a Citizen, I know they're great watches, but there's so many of them. You don't get to see many of these Orients. They're not hugely easy to get hold of compared to Seikos and Citizens. So hence why you've got to do a little bit more shopping around to find one of these at a really good price, or you don't have to wait too long for delivery. And so I'd say you're absolutely sport for choice when it comes to alternatives from other Japanese brands if you're going to go down the Japanese dress watch route. But for the vintage style, you can't go wrong with Orient, because they are covering this kind of design theme better than I think their competitors. And that's why I found it easy to make this decision to buy this watch. If you have any questions about this watch, please drop them in the comments and let me know what you think about this review. I really appreciate any feedback. The channel's evolving, and I thoroughly enjoy making these videos and sharing my thoughts on these watches, and I hope it makes you get closer to a buying decision, or just to enjoy looking at what is a beautiful watch and a bit of history behind it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.